The boy always thought that he and his sister would have an ordinary life. But then dragon blood got into his eyes. Summoners have infiltrated the human world. The whirlpool of fate drew me in and gave me a great opportunity. The guy with blue hair kept repeating that no one passed the exam. However, the main character decided that he would still fight for his future. Even if his enemies mock him, his friends betray him, and those around him look down on him, he decided to prove his strength to everyone and rise above them, destroying their illusions and rising to the very top. 1,000 years ago, the magical beasts were ruled by a clan of dragons, and the one who stood above all was called the demon god. He had enormous ambitions and sowed chaos everywhere, led an army of magical beasts that conquered the human world. His greed knew no bounds, seeking to plunge every part of the universe into endless darkness. And then, in the face of death, humanity fully revealed its potential. At the dawn of the awakening of spiritual power, a select few gained the ability to control magical beasts and became known as beast hunters. The blue-haired rider, riding a lion, destroyed one dragon after another. The dragons groaned in pain and died in agony. She reported that a magical beast had been shot down over the northern district of Qingfeng City. The animal fell into a residential area, so emergency assistance is needed. Xiao Xinyu, a third-grade student from Xiangnan High School, looked at the falling magical beast with his mouth open. The dragon, covered in blood, fell face down next to Xiao. The dragon's blood unexpectedly gets into Xiao's eyes. The buildings around were destroyed. Everything was on fire and blood was splashing from the dragon's carcass. Looking at all this, Xiao stood in shock and could not move. She looked at everything that was happening with surprise and fear. The dragon was hit by a spell from the fire lion. The blow was so strong that it should have killed the dragon. The dragon, covered in a purple glow, began to fall lifelessly downwards, after which the rider confirmed that the magical beast was dead. Xiao rubbed the blood from his eyes and heard screams in hopes of finding out if there were any survivors. Xiao opened his eyes and was very surprised by what he saw in front of him. In front of him stood a huge lion and a beautiful girl, Su Ruyan, the headmaster of the Azure Dragon Academy, who was apologizing for the inconvenience. Su said that she would compensate for the damage caused to the Xiao household and pay compensation on behalf of the Azure Dragon Academy. Xiao happily snatched the letter and looked at Su with admiration. Su and her team of trappers said goodbye to the young man. Looking at them, the guy thought with admiration that these were the hunters. Xiao looked at the letter and really wished that he had a chance to become a trapper, as everyone in his world dreams of becoming a trapper. While the frustrated Jiu was thinking about how he didn't even have the money to buy the beast without which he wouldn't be able to pass the national trapper exam, a small beast suddenly appeared at his feet. It was a blue-eyed dog with a red seal on its forehead. He started licking Zhao, who was embarrassed and not very happy about it. Taking the dog in his arms, he wondered where the dog came from and whether it could be tamed. He remembered that the textbooks mentioned a dog-like creature. It was a storm dog. Since it didn't require much spiritual power, Xiao would be able to feed it. Xiao was happy that he now had the beast and would be able to pass the national exam. But then he was immediately visited by doubts, since there were only 3 days left until it. Despite the deadline, he happily tossed the dog, calling him a good boy. In the city of Qingfeng, there was an unremarkable trapper's shop. That's where Xiao went with his dog. He still doubted his abilities and thought that he could give the dog to someone who could take care of him. Xiao understood that the dog had no future with him because the dog ate a week's supply of food in one night, and the guy did not have enough money to buy that much food. Suddenly, the doors that Xiao was standing in front of opened, and a man with a red headband came out, asking what the guy was doing in front of his shop at such an early hour. Xiao offered to buy his dog from the store owner. The owner drove the boy away because he had no intention of buying a dog with such a low pedigree and no evolutionary path. The man with the red bandage on his head scared the dog with his screams, and Xiao asked him not to scream like that. If he didn't want to take the dog, then he shouldn't take it. Suddenly, a blue glow appeared, which made Xiao very surprised. A system window appeared above the dog with its characteristics: level, affection, pedigree, hidden pedigree, talent, hidden talent, evolution path, hidden evolution path. Xiao couldn't believe it, so he rubbed his eyes. The window didn't disappear. There was still a system window above the dog with its characteristics, where it was indicated that the storm dog, thanks to a hidden path of evolution, can be a doomsday wolf. The shop owner told Xiao to get lost and that storm dogs don't have any evolution path. It turns out that the system window was only accessible to Xiao and no one else could see it. Suzha, a third grader from Xiangnan High School and the son of the richest man in Qingfeng, appeared in front of Xiao and laughed at Xiao for not taking the exam because Xiao didn't have a beast. Suzha saw a small dog in Xiu's arms and leaned over to him, saying that he had managed to collect a few coins after all. Xiao abruptly turned away from the nasty guy who was making fun of him for having a storm dog and told him to mind his own business. Suja said that Lin was right that Xiao didn't want to take the trapper exam. Su continued to mock Xiao and said that he would not have passed the exam even if he had really wanted to. Xiao asked Lin if she had said that. Su announced that he was now dating Zhang Lin. A girl in a red dress approached Suja and asked him where Su had disappeared to. He replied that he had simply noticed an old acquaintance, Lin, and decided to greet him. Embarrassed, Lin said that she had broken up with Xiao a long time ago and thought that the guy looked like a loser, and also dragged some mongrel around with him. Xiao shouted at her not to forget who helped her when she was at her lowest point and that he didn't care. Lin could continue to spend her life with the rich idiot. Suji was shocked that he called him a rich idiot. He promised that he would grind Xiao into dust during the exam. Xiao was determined. He wanted to prove to everyone that the storm dog was not useless. 3 days later, the exam began at Jilin Square. The examination center in Qingfeng City welcomes candidates and asks them to take their seats. The test began and Xiao hurried to his seat. The people around him were shocked to see Xiao Xinyu here, because everyone thought that he didn't even have a beast. People said that Xiao had been unable to buy the beast for some time. But 3 days ago, he signed up for the exam and applied to the Azure Dragon Academy, the best of the 4 academies. Everyone was shocked that such a loser would even dare to do something like that, and such statements made Xiao nervous. Xiao walked up to the table where the large golden ball stood and greeted the teacher. Chen Qingyan, a teacher at the admissions office of the Azure Dragon Academy in Qingfeng City, asked the young man who he was. Chen Qingyan tensed up, because Xiao was the only one in Qingfeng City who applied to the Azure Dragon Academy. Suja told Xiao that he knew no bounds, and that in the past 5 years, only 8 students from Qingfeng City had applied to the Azure Dragon Academy. None of the 8 people who applied over the past 5 years passed the exam. Suja is willing to kneel down and call Xiao Xinyu his father if he thinks he is so special and can enter the Azure Dragon Academy. Xiao warned him to prepare himself because he would soon have 2 fathers. Suji was angered by this cheeky joke, and Xiao informed the teacher that he was ready to begin the exam. The teacher warned that the selection process for the Azure Dragon Academy was extremely strict, so Xiao also needed to choose other schools in case he failed the exam. Otherwise, he would no longer be able to become a beast trapper. No one believed in Xiao, since the passing score was 800 units, but Xiao resolutely stated that he understood everything and was ready to begin. Chen Qingyan explained that the first test was a test of spiritual strength. Xiao placed his hand on the large golden magic ball. The ball showed a result of only 316 units. People started laughing at Xiao, and the teacher thought that he had a promising student in front of him. Suddenly, the spiritual power indicator began to grow rapidly and reached 621 units. The numbers on the ball were still rapidly growing upwards. There were already 711 units. The spiritual power indicator has already exceeded 800 units. People thought that the spiritual power measuring device was broken, as it showed an unimaginable 956 units. As a result, the ball stopped at 1,028 units of spiritual power. The teacher was shocked to see such large numbers that the device even cracked. The mood of the people around suddenly changed to horror. They did not understand what kind of monster was standing in front of them. The spiritual strength indicator is directly related to the potential of the hunter. Every 100 units of spiritual power allows you to make a contract with one magical beast. In the future, Xiao Xinyu might even become a 10-star level beast hunter. In recent decades, only a few such trappers have appeared in the land of the dragon. Chen Qingyan announced the result of candidate Xiao Xinyu. He didn't expect that Xiao would be so strong, only 2 points less than the genius Ye Ningshuang. The crowd was furious because there were 2 tests in the Azure Dragon Academy. The second was a test for the quality of the magical beast's bloodline. The teacher was about to announce the next test, but then his assistant approached him. The assistant reported that there was a minor malfunction in the spiritual power meter. The final result was 1,032 units. Chen Qingyan asked not to tell anyone about this because it was 2 units higher than Ye Ningshuang. The teacher announces the second test, a test of the quality of the magical beast's bloodline. Xiao raised his right hand to summon his magical beast. He shouted the name Black Fang, and the creature began to slowly appear piece by piece. A golden whirlwind formed around the creature. This spectacle fascinated people and terrified them at the same time. The Stormhound appeared. It caused outrage because it is the worst choice for pedigree testing. At present, no one contracts with it. The teacher was upset because the quality of the pedigree is one of the decisive factors limiting the development of trappers. The teacher was going to upset Xiao because his beast. Suddenly, shouts could be heard from the crowd that it was not a storm dog. The dog was transformed before our eyes into a huge beast. People couldn't believe it, because storm dogs don't evolve. After the dog's evolution was complete, the teacher approached him and began scanning the dog to a pedigree level that was equal to epic. Xiao Xinyu passed the tests and was accepted into the Azure Dragon Academy. Suja realized that it was time to quietly slip away with his new girlfriend. But then Xiao noticed this and asked where he was going, if he wanted to say goodbye to his father. Suja called Xiao a freak and said that he needed to know his place because he was not going to kneel down and call Xiao father, because he would not do anything to him anyway. Xiao gave a command to Black Fang, causing Suja to turn around in horror. A second later, he found himself under the dog's powerful paws and Xiao asked him what he would say now. Suja asked for forgiveness from his new father, Xiao Xinyu. Xiao told him to get out, as he couldn't have such a worthless son. Chen Qingyan confessed to Xiao that she had fallen in love with him very much over the past 2 years, and she thought they still had a chance to start over. Xiao left and said that she and everything connected with her was already in the past. Chen Qingyan fell to her knees, exhausted, and begged him to forgive her because she was wrong. Xiao picked up the phone and started calling his sister to brag about getting into the Azure Dragon Academy. He greeted his sister happily, but heard nothing in response except beeps. The boy realized that his sister was in danger. On the outskirts of Qingfeng City, where there was a farmer's market, chaos reigned. People were running from monsters. Someone was trying to find their child. Hiding behind a rock, the white-haired girl hugged a crying child. Suddenly, a huge sting of a monster appeared from behind the stone. Behind them was a giant scorpion. Xiao felt that something was wrong. Something had clearly happened, so he rushed to help. After running to the farmer's market, Xiao immediately started looking for his sister. The monster was already ready to attack the girl with a small child. Xiao rushed to help his sister. Suddenly, his eyes started bleeding and a blue glow appeared. A system window appeared in front of him, offering to use the new available skill of the hellish storm wolf, the bonds of hell, hellish howl. Xiu shouted in a fit of anger, "Black Fang, hellish howl, hellish bonds." But nothing happened. Xiao was confused and didn't understand why. The monster struck its stinger first at Sister Xiao. At this moment, Xiao remembered that when the magical beast attacked him, the man from the Azure Dragon Academy shouted something like a spell. Then he decided to try to read the same spell. At the beginning of this catastrophe, when heaven and earth were not yet separated, a pact was made, sealed with his blood, and the spirits from the void were called, "Let blood become payment and words become bonds." He shouted loudly for the beast to listen to his order. A powerful beam burst out from the Hellwolf, which split the monster into several parts. Xiao didn't understand whether he had killed him, whether this was the power of a beast hunter. Xiu remembered that his sister was still near the monster. He ran to her, asking if everything was okay. Xiao apologized for coming so late. He was glad that everything was okay. He bragged to his sister that he had entered the Azure Dragon Academy and was now a beast hunter too. Suddenly, Xiao's dog jumped on him, and he was unable to stay on his feet, falling with him. He said that this was his new contract animal. Xiao introduced him as a hellish storm wolf, Black Fang. People were shocked that the monster was dead. Xiu confirmed this with a satisfied face. The woman who had lost her child called the little girl to her and thanked the trapper. The girl cried very loudly and asked her mother where she had disappeared to. Xiao and his sister noticed some strange stone on the monster and decided to check it out. A system window appeared in front of Xiao, describing this stone as the core of a magical beast. She picked it up and looked at it, thinking that it was just an initial stage core with a poison attribute. He threw the cannonball to the dog because he knew it would help Black Fang evolve. Xiao announced to everyone that the beast was dead and they were safe. People began to surround Xiao and thank him for saving them. They called him their hero. The girl that Xiao saved told him that now she also wants to become a trapper like him. Xiu encouraged the girl and said that he was sure that she would definitely succeed. Moonlight filtered into Xiao's ruined house. It illuminated Xiao, who was sleeping under the blanket. Suddenly, his sister appeared in the room and approached the sleeping Xiao. She stood behind him. Suddenly, a blue glow began to be reflected in her eyes. A strange blue rune appeared on the back between the shoulder blades. It was a rune in the shape of a blue ancient dragon. The sister called the unknown person and reported that the curse of the dragon rune was still in effect, and the seal on the essence of the Dragon King was intact. She didn't understand why Xiao was able to make a contract with a magical beast back then. It all didn't make any sense then. The stranger on the other end of the line said that this was fate, and he ordered his sister to keep an eye on Xiao. She understood the order and said that everything would be done. Xiao and his sister were at the Qingfeng railway station. The parents tried to pass on a basket of salted duck eggs that Xiao Yu loved as a child and a sealed gift. She said that he shouldn't be seen off and that he would come back during the holidays. The guy gave up his seat by the window to his sister and sat down next to her. A couple of hours into the journey, an announcement was made to the entire train. Magical beasts were spotted on a section of the railway. The carriage may shake. After a while, the train passed the dangerous section. Xie was happy that they would soon arrive in Longyan City, and his sister decided to remind him that school would soon start, so he shouldn't shirk. Suddenly, the train started shaking. All the passengers were shocked by what was happening. The loudspeaker announced that there were magical beasts ahead, a flock of three-eyed giant monkeys, and everyone needed to stay in their places. The passengers were in a panic, as there was a loud crash on the roof and cracks appeared in the ceiling. One of the monkeys fell into the carriage and people ran in panic to other carriages of the train. Xiao ordered his sister to sit still and not go anywhere. She asked him what he wanted to do. Xiao didn't answer the question, quickly turned around and started to leave, but his sister tried to stop him. Suddenly, a huge three-eyed monkey fell from the roof of the train in front of Xiao. But then the monkey was hit in the face by a golden fox, and a question came from behind Xiao asking how long he would just stand there and watch. It was Qin Yanran, the daughter of the Heaven Guild leader, who said that if Xiao didn't want to die, then he should go into hiding. Qin Yanran began to twirl her staff and chant some spell. After the spell was cast, there was a bright flash and the fox suddenly rushed forward. She saw the system window with the description of this fox. He was surprised that it was a three-tailed thunder fox. The people were glad that the hunter was fighting the monster. They considered themselves already saved. But Xiao wasn't so sure about it. He shouted to everyone to get off that carriage as quickly as possible. Three-eyed monkeys live in a pack, so the guy couldn't understand why only one attacked them. Shu told Black Fang that he needed to help the trapper. Qian fought off the monsters one after another, but she was already running out of strength. Then two monkeys attacked from behind, and Xiao shouted to the girl in the hope of warning her of danger, which made the girl turn around. Xiao decided to use the Black Fang Hellbond spell. After all the monkeys were immobilized, he asked them why they were no longer so frisky. Qian was very surprised by the fact that Xiao was also a hunter. She thanked Xiao for his help, and he said that there was no need for thanks and that any trapper in this situation would have done the same. She stared at the Qin beast. A system window appeared with status, diagnosis, and treatment. Xiao asked Qin if the fox was too active during battles, and then very sluggish and sometimes even injured itself. This question greatly surprised Qin, because it was true. He said that the fox had post-traumatic stress disorder, and the manual on magical beast diseases said that three-tailed thunder foxes were the ones most likely to suffer from it. Now Qin understood why Xiao had hardly smiled lately. She thanked Xiao by hitting him hard on the back and calling him brother, and said that she would take care of her treatment when she arrived. Qin will now call Xiao younger brother. Standing behind them was Xiao's real sister, looking annoyed. She wasn't very happy with what was happening. She decided to insert herself between Xiao and Qin. After all, Xiao is her brother. She hugged Xiao's hand tightly, so that he couldn't even move. Qin suddenly snatched Xiao from his embrace and asked if this was true. The girls began to tear Xiao apart from both sides and argue about whose brother he was. In the central square of the Azure Dragon Academy, there were first-year students. The dean of the Azure Dragon Academy, Lin Kong, and his deputy, Wang Dongsheng, addressed them. He asked the first-year students to be more patient and wait for the principal. Xiao waved goodbye to his new sister Qin. Xiao finally got into the Azure Dragon Academy. The purple giant beast emitted a purple ring with its roar. The freshmen were delighted because Principal Su arrived on her beast. She flew past the crowd of first-year students, accompanied by their enthusiastic cries. The director began to land on her purple giant lion. The dean asked if Su could say a few words to the freshmen. Xiao remembered that this was the woman who defeated the shadow magic dragon. He didn't expect that Su would be the principal of the Azure Dragon Academy. Su congratulated everyone on entering the academy, but decided to remind them of one more thing. It doesn't matter whether they are from a noble family or from a poor one. In the Azure Dragon Academy, they must obey its rules, especially the 8th rule. The first-year students were shocked by these words. No one knew about this rule and what it consisted of. Su said that the 8th rule of the academy is that if a conflict arises between students, it must be resolved through a duel in the arena, regardless of who is right or wrong, and the loser must apologize to the winner. Xiao reasoned that the 8th rule may seem harsh, but in fact, it prevents the scions of noble families from using their power to oppress the weak. Even ordinary students can defend their honor with their own strength. 2 hours later in class, Xiao's classmate couldn't believe that he was in the same class with him. After all, He is the same monster with spiritual power almost like that of senior disciple Ye Ningxuang. The teacher came in and told everyone to sit down because they were starting class. The whole class obediently obeyed their teacher and sat down in their seats. Someone from the back of the class whispered to Xiao that they would now always follow him. The teacher asked with displeasure to keep quiet in the classroom. He turned to the students and said that from now on, he, Chen Qingyan, was the supervisor and hoped that they would all achieve great things in the Azure Dragon Academy. Then asked the class to open the first chapter of the Illustrated Handbook of Magical Beasts. The strength of a magical beast is determined by two factors. The first is the form of the beast. At the moment, the following stages are known from the lowest to the highest: initial form, mature form, full form. The next stage is the transcendental form. And finally, the form of the king of beasts. The second is the quality of the magical beast's bloodline. According to records, the blood of magical beasts is classified from the lowest to the highest. Beasts with a higher pedigree can suppress those with a weaker pedigree. In addition, the attributes of magical beasts can suppress and affect each other. For example, the 5 most common ones: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The principle is as follows: wood suppresses earth, earth, water, water, fire, fire, metal, metal, wood. Based on these 5 basic attributes, others can appear, such as sand and lightning. But this is the topic of the next lesson. Xiao was fast asleep on his desk. He missed the teacher's entire lecture on magical beasts. The teacher noticed this and threw chalk at him, shouting at him to get up immediately. Xiao had a lot of courage since he decided to sleep in his class and during the introductory lesson at that. Since he was so smart, the teacher asked him to name the weakness of the demonic lizard. If Xiao didn't tell him, he might as well pack his things and get out right now. Xiao confidently said that the demonic lizard's weakness was the poison sac under its belly. The teacher asked the next question: which area does the ice giant crocodile usually live in? Xiao immediately answered that it was in the southern part of the Dragon Country, in the Shuangjiang Lake area and the Kunlun Glacial Waterfalls, and the whole class was delighted. The next question was not long in coming. If a guy meets a sky-tearing demonic tiger in the wild, what will he do? She said he would clutch his ID badge in his teeth and hide somewhere in the shadows. Xiao's answer caused confusion among his classmates and the teacher himself. He explained that the sky-tearing demon tiger was a magical creature at the Beast King stage, a mutated species that only a beast hunter of at least 6 stars could fight against. And if rookie beast hunters encountered it in the wild, they would die. Therefore, Xiao concluded that taking the ID tag in his teeth would be a better idea, since it would be easier to identify his body, and he would lie in the shade in order to slow down the decomposition of the body. The teacher shouted with delight that this answer was beyond all praise, and also asked how he was able to answer the questions from the following editions. Xiao, holding all the publications in his hand, replied that he had already studied them. His classmates were at a loss as to how they were supposed to keep up with Xiao and where he came from. The teacher told the class to study on their own, so that they could get closer to Xiao in knowledge, and also ordered Xiao to follow him. Xiao apologized to the teacher for sleeping during his lessons. The teacher asked if he had really learned the entire course in half a lesson. Xiao said that it was thanks to Teacher Chen's teaching talent. The teacher asked to stop this flattery and move on to more advanced materials. He gave Xiao a pass to the Azure Dragon Academy library. With this pass, he can freely visit the library and borrow any books for free. The teacher told Xiao to leave as he could not teach him anything more. The guy immediately went to study new materials in the academy library. At this moment, Wang Yun, the son of Vice Dean Wang Dongsheng, enters the library and says that this is his library today. He ordered all the boys to run out of the library, but lustfully indicating that the girls could stay and study with him. The girls pitifully begged him to let them go and let them out of the library. Xiao couldn't stand it and threw the book straight at the bully's head, telling him to shut up. Wang Yan was shocked by this action, and his minions said that Xiao clearly did not know his place. Xiao stood up for the girls and asked the guy, "Does he really have no conscience at all?" Since he mocks the girls, Wang Yan irritably asked who Xiao thinks he is. The girl advised Xiao to leave, since he was the son of Vice Dean Wang Dongsheng and should not be messed with. Then Xiao understood why the bully was so impudent, because Daddy was the Vice Dean. Wang Yan was glad that he realized everything and ordered Xiao to kneel down and apologize. But in response, Xiao only swung, and with all his strength he hit the hooligan between the legs. He immediately fell to the floor and began to writhe in pain, and his friends asked if everything was okay with him. Wang Yan decided to remind who he is. Does Xiao think he can handle the consequences, since he will make sure that he does not leave the library alive? Wang Yan promised to show who is the boss in the Azure Dragon Academy. Suddenly, Su entered the library and said that she didn't know that Wang Yan was the boss here. Wang Yan wondered how Director Su had arrived at the library so quickly. Su stated that she knew everything, and since a conflict had arisen between them, it should be resolved as stated in the 8th article of the Academy's charter. The students began to fill the arena, because now Xiao Xinyu and Wang Yan would begin their duel. No one believed in Xiao, because Wang Yan had the legendary six-fingered ice leopard. Teacher Xiao also came to watch this fight. He believed that he would not let him down. The referee announced that the fight would begin soon and the fighters should get ready. Wang Yan said he would show what happens to those who dare to go against him. She said with a smile that he could just apologize, which made Wang Yan even more angry. The referee announced the start of the fight. Wang Yan immediately decided to use the Ice Flame spell. A blue mist formed around Wang Yan. From this icy fog, his magical beast with huge claws and fangs appeared. A system window with the characteristics of the six-fingered ice leopard appeared above them. Xiao began to study this window. Xiao was alarmed because this magical beast had two attributes at once. It was Xiao's turn to show off the power of his magical beast. From the flames emerged the mighty wolf Black Fang. The audience was surprised by Xiao Xinyu's beast. The beast looked impressive. It definitely won in beauty over the six-legged leopard. Somewhere on the teacher's podium, Su was sitting and she was also surprised, as she had never seen such a beast before. She suggested that the beast might be a storm dog that had evolved. But she knew that these beasts were always considered to have no path to evolution. So how could Xiao Xinyu achieve this? Wang Yan shouted that he wouldn't be scared by such a show. Xiao could prepare his apology. Wang Yan used the Ice Flame and Deep Freeze spells, and the leopard rushed to attack. Xiao, without thinking twice, decided to counterattack and used rapid dashes. Black Fang, dodging the enemy's attack, quickly reached his target. But the leopard still managed to hit the dog. The teacher thought that the Hellstorm Wolf was a magical beast with the attributes of fire and wind, while the leopard was a magical beast with the attributes of water and earth attributes of wind and ice, so it would not be able to overcome the advantage of the elements. Wang Yan shouted that he would destroy the Xiao beast and activated the Ice Flame. Ice burst from the leopard's mouth, completely freezing Black Fang. Wang Yan laughed at Xiao, because his beast would soon freeze to death. At the teacher's podium, everyone held their breath, wondering what move Xiao Xinyu would make. But the smile did not leave Xiao's face. Despite the current situation, Xiao asked Wang Yan if he was sure that the Fang would freeze to death. Xiao unexpectedly used the spell Hunt in the Dark. In an instant, Black Fang disappeared from his icy prison, and people were very surprised by this. The teachers immediately understood that this was an attribute of darkness, which meant that Xiao Xinyu's beast had 3 of them. Wang Yan shook his head from side to side. He couldn't find Black Fang. Behind Wang Yan, Black Fang appeared out of nowhere, already extending its sharp claws. The ice leopard managed to repel Black Fang's attack. She said in surprise that since he was able to repel such an attack, then let him show everything he was capable of. Xiao went on the attack using the Claw of Oblivion. Fang struck one blow after another. The leopard did not move and could not fight back. Oblivion Claw is a dark attribute skill that causes paralysis for 3 seconds when it hits a target. Xiao decided that it was time to finish off his opponent, so he used Hellish Howl. A powerful golden beam burst from the dog's mouth and hit the leopard straight. The exhausted leopard lay on the ground and did not move. Xiao Xinyu won the match, and the audience exploded with delight. Wang Yan couldn't believe his defeat. He fell to his knees and didn't move. Xiao walked up to the loser. Su announced that now, according to the school rules, Wang Yan must apologize properly. Wang Yan knelt before Xiao and asked for forgiveness. He then stood up and left, hearing Principal Su praising Xiao, saying that he was the second student who could impress her. She is waiting for Xiao to perform at the freshman ranking tournament in 3 days. Xiao was embarrassed and thanked Su for the praise and asked her who was the first thing that impressed her. Director Su replied that it was a genius girl with a spiritual power level of over 1,000, Yening Shuang. Xiao heard her name again, just like he did at the entrance exam. Su knows how to appreciate talent, so she gave Xiao a spatial ring as a reward. Xiao didn't expect such a gift, because this ring can store anything you want. He happily accepted the gift and thanked Director Su. Once he got out of the gates of the Azure Dragon Academy, he knew that his sister was probably worried, so he had to get home quickly. Xiao didn't notice and crashed into the little blue-haired girl. He asked if everything was okay with the girl. The girl was clearly still a little dizzy. Xiao asked the girl to look around next time so that this doesn't happen again. But now, let her run home. But the girl said she had nowhere to go, so she asked for shelter. When Sister Xiao came home to the family dormitory, she was shocked. She thought that he had kidnapped this girl. Xiu tried to explain himself to his sister, but she kept interrupting him and saw no point in it since he had already done everything. When everyone calmed down, Xiao told them that Ximeng was afraid of magical beasts, so she couldn't become a trapper, and that she was constantly bullied at home, so she ran away from home. Xiao decided to bring the girl home so that she could overcome her fear. The girl asked her sister for permission to stay at their house because she did not want to return home. The sister allowed the little girl to stay at their home so that she could overcome her fear. But she set one condition for Xiao, that he should never date a girl from the Ye family. During another class at the Azure Dragon Academy, Xiao thought about why he shouldn't date a girl from the Ye family. Xiao's classmate asked him what he was muttering under his breath. Teacher Chen said that in this lesson they would be determining roles on the battlefield, so the classmate needed Xiao's help. Xiao apologized because he was lost in thought. Then he clarified the question and began to explain that the trappers acted as a team, and their roles and responsibilities were different. Marksmen have ranged combat skills, allowing them to take out enemies from a distance. Mages have well-developed crowd control skills, which give them a significant advantage in team combat. The tank has strong defense and skills that restore health. The tank is a shield for the rest of the team. The killer is endowed with high maneuverability and the ability to finish off enemies. The killer's main task is to attack those who can barely stand on their feet. Support is famous for its buffing skills that impose a variety of positive effects on all team members. A classmate was very surprised by this information and asked Xiao what role he thought his butterfly bury was suitable for. The teacher reprimanded Sheng Yu to stop chatting in class. The teacher said that according to the ordinal numbers, it is necessary to call your animals to take the test. Sun Hu summoned a magical beast that has strong defense, so he is now a tank. Sheng Yu summoned his storm butterfly, which possessed mass skills based on the water element. The teacher asked if Xiao was ready. He confirmed that he was ready and summoned the beast. The beast hit the simulator with a hellish howl and an explosion thundered. The simulator showed a triple critical hit, and the numbers on it began to grow rapidly and stopped at 6,371. Classmates were shocked by this. Someone said that they wouldn't even make it to 1,500. The teacher thought that the attacks of beginner beast hunters usually ranged from 500 to 1,500. He didn't expect the Hellstorm Wolf to deal more than 2,000 with a triple critical hit. Xiao asked the teacher if he had passed the attack test, and if the assassin class was suitable for him. Next came the range test, using the hellish howl, which hit a whole 800 meters. Then the defense test. The Fang withstood the attack of Teacher Chen's ice-armored turtle. Xiao's control test was carried out using the shackles of hell. A buff test revealed that any beast within 10 meters of a Hellstorm Wolf gains a 30% increase in rage, 10% in attack, and 10% in movement speed. Classmates asked the teacher what role suits Xiao, because he is good at absolutely everything. The teacher admitted that in addition to these 5 roles, there is another special role called a Generalist. The students asked the teacher about this role. What does this mean? The teacher explained that this is the name given to a beast hunter whose summoned creature is equally suitable for all roles. It is clear that Xiao has become the only all-rounder in his group. Xiao's classmates pounced on him with questions about how he could become so cool. But Xiao was modest and didn't think of himself as that cool. The teacher said that there is no need to rejoice too soon. Universalists are rare, but they still exist. At the moment, not only Xiao Xinyu is known, but also Yening Shuang and Han Tianjun from the second group, Murong Qingyang, and Li Xuancheng from the third group. The teacher reminded the students that they needed to continue to work hard and develop. Xiao was glad that the training was over, as he needed to buy some supplements to prepare for the beginner ranking competition. But then, several young men appeared in front of Xiao and asked him where he was going in such a hurry. Xiao asked with a dissatisfied face what else they needed. They smiled and flexed their fists as they asked, "Has Xiao really not heard of the Black Tiger Guild?" Then Wang Yan's voice was heard, saying that there was no need to talk to Xiao, he just needed to break his leg, and then he wouldn't be so impudent. The guys threatened and repeated that Xiao shouldn't have crossed the path of young Master Wang Yan, and that it was all his own fault. Xiao noticed the stars on the hooligans' jackets. They indicated levels. The hooligans were level 3 and level 4. Xiao asked, "Weren't they ashamed to attack someone who was only level 1? Wang Yan suggested that Xiao cry, and his subordinate asked him not to worry and he would deal with him. The fourth-year student summoned his magical beast, which turned out to be a thunder tiger. The tiger rushed forward to deal damage to Xiao. But then Black Fang appeared in time and attacked the tiger in response. The tiger was immobilized and fell to the ground under the onslaught of Fang. The bully was shocked because his master forgot to warn him about Black Fang's power. He guessed that the beast only appeared to be in its mature form, as it could withstand a thunder tiger that was in its full stage. This angered the bully, and he wanted to know who was stronger, some first-level weakling or the elite of the 3rd and 4th level Black Tiger Guild. A female voice suddenly rang out, saying that she was wondering who was stronger, the Black Tiger or the Heaven Guild. Xiao was glad that Sister Qin came to his aid. The hooligans found themselves surrounded and didn't know where to go. The Heaven Guild is the 2nd strongest guild in Longyan City. Even the Storm Guild does not dare to conflict with them. The hooligan obediently asked what brought Miss Qin here. Qin said, "If I hadn't passed by, I would never have known what the esteemed Lei was going to do to her dear little brother." This information made one very surprised, since Qin was the only daughter of the guild leader. She explained that Xiao Xinyu was her adopted brother, whom Qin Yanran had acknowledged. Qin warned that if anyone decided to offend Xiao, they would first have to deal with her and the entire Heaven Guild. Lei meekly said that there was a big misunderstanding. Lei pointed his finger at Wang Yan and said that he was the one who hired them to cause trouble for Brother Qin. Trembling with fear, Wan said pitifully that he didn't know about Brother Qin. Qin asked Lei if he knew what to do in such a situation, and he replied that he did. Lei ordered his men to teach him a lesson since he dared to offend the young master. Wang groaned in pain and shouted, "How can you do this?" Xiao and Qin were climbing up the Heaven Guild tower. Qin asked how he ran into them, and he replied that he just wanted to buy tonics for the dog. Qin objected with displeasure because he could have simply asked her, since her guild specialized in them. She said if he ever needed tonics, he just had to say so, and the nurse would give it to him for free. Qin began to show the guild's premises, starting with the training gym, equipped with the most advanced training equipment that helps the beasts master various skills as quickly as possible. Next was a recreation area, where hunters could relax after a mission. There was even mini-golf, a sauna, and many other entertainments. Then there was a conference room, where they hold meetings on important issues and make plans for further development. The medical area had advanced equipment and a wide range of medicines. The guild's doctors are highly qualified and provide the best services for the treatment of wounded animals. Xiao asked his sister if he could join her guild and become a doctor. Then another female voice was heard. She said that he would not be able to join the guild. It was Liu Yue, the vice leader of the guild, who was surprised that Xiao wanted to join the guild even though he was still very young and had no experience. Qin turned to Liu Yue. She said that he was the one who helped her on the train. Some guy ran in and shouted that they had just delivered several seriously wounded animals. The guy was yelling about how they didn't have enough staff to help everyone. The deputy told him to ask for help from other branches and asked Qin Yanran if she could take care of this matter. The animals were lying on stretchers. The guy said that they didn't have much time since the animals were bleeding heavily. Xiao proposed his candidacy to the deputy. A horned dog with severe bleeding was being transported to the 3rd operating room, and they also brought spare bags of blood. The animal has already lost too much blood. The bleeding needs to be stopped as soon as possible. The medicine should help. Conventional methods did not help and the bleeding still did not stop. Xiao began to scan the beast with his gaze, and a system window appeared with the type of wound. Since the beast encountered the queen of poisonous bees, and their poison interferes with regeneration, the beast bled to death. She said that he knows how to stop the bleeding of the war beast. He asks the owner for permission to help the beast. The owner agreed, since he had no choice in this situation. Xiao told the doctors to mix 1 stalk of heavenly grass with a purple crystal flower to make 20 grams of medicinal mixture. Then add the core of the mature magical beast with the poison attribute and boil for 5 minutes. Doctors were perplexed because all these ingredients were highly toxic. It was like putting out a fire with gasoline. She still insisted on his own and ordered that the medicine be prepared immediately according to his prescription. Otherwise, they would simply waste time and the beast would die. The beast's owner shouted, "Why are the doctors still standing? Let them do as Xiao said." 5 minutes later, the ready green elixir was brought. Xiu put on rubber gloves, carefully opened the bottle and dipped his finger in. He then carefully applied the medicine around the beast's wound. The beast screamed sharply in pain, causing horror among the people. But eventually the bleeding stopped, and the healing process began. The owner was glad that his beast was alive. Xiao asked the deputy if she was satisfied with the work done. She replied that the work was beyond praise. She admitted that her conclusions were incorrect and invited Xiao to the guild as a pharmacist. Xiao accepted this offer with pleasure. Sisters scolded Xiao for being late due to signing a labor contract with the Heaven Guild. Xiao confirmed everything his sister said. The sister was offended by the fact that someone completely forgot about his own sister. after he found some rich woman. The little girl asked, "Pharmacist, is it edible?" Xiao said not really, but he would be paid well now. They were planning to visit a restaurant over the weekend. Wang Yan lay in the hospital room and cursed Xiao Xinyu. He would never forget this humiliation. Yan's father called his son a worthless weakling, to which he asked him for help. The father couldn't believe that his son lost to some country boy from a small town. Yan cried when his father said that his son had brought shame on the whole family. Yan said that Xiao was backed by the Heaven Guild, so he didn't even have a chance to take revenge. Father asked sarcastically, if Xiao Xinyu accidentally died at the hands of a magical beast during the trials on Mount Yunnan, then it wouldn't have anything to do with the Wang family? On Mount Yunnan, all the arriving students were faced with another test, which would be broadcast in real time on all screens. The Vice Dean announced that the bracelets that the test subjects would wear would record the number of magical beasts killed, and would also keep a log of combat actions. Killing 1 to 10 magical beasts will result in a C rating. For killing between 11 and 30 magical beasts, a B grade is awarded. For killing 31 to 50 magical beasts, a grade of A is awarded. From 51 to 80 magical beasts are given an S rating. Killing more than 80 magical beasts will result in an S+ rating. Su asked the deputy to announce the particularly gifted participants among this year's recruits. The deputy announced that, according to the results of the entrance tests, 3 particularly gifted students would be singled out this year. Murong Yangshuo, the eldest son of the Murong family, first class. Murong Xin, the youngest daughter of the Murong family, first grade. Xiao Xinyu is a third-grade student. There are 4 great trapper dynasties in the country, the Ye, Li, Murong, and Shangguan clans. In the broadcast studio of the Azure Dragon Academy, everyone was greeted by the host of this test, Yang Shu. Su asked the deputy, how many magical beasts did he think Xiao Xinyu could kill? He replied that it was 50, and that he had taken that with extra. The teacher categorically disagreed with the deputy, because if you take into account his talent, he would be able to kill at least 80. Su said that they were wrong. She believed that Xiao would perform a real miracle and break Ye Ningxuang's record. Newcomers began to enter the testing area. The host announced the start of the test, and less than half an hour had passed before second-grade student Wang Lin successfully killed a short-tailed bear. Sun Tianhao, of the 5th grade, had already killed 20 magical beasts. Surprisingly, just an hour after the test began, Murong Yangshuo of the first class had already killed 43 magical beasts. His griffin is the only beast to achieve full form in this test. The griffin's ability, Spatial Dash, not only instantly reduces the distance to the target, but also enhances any attack by adding a penetration effect. Although the silver-fanged snake has exceptional regeneration abilities, it was unlucky to encounter the white griffin, whose attack completely ignores its regeneration. Murong decided to extract the magic core from the beast and move on. At the moment, the Murong family was in the leading position with scores of 50 and 49, and Xiao was in 3rd place. The camera moved to the battlefield where a young girl from the Murong family was fighting. Her beast is a bone-winged wyvern of legendary bloodline, the only undead beast in this trial. She met the bloodthirsty lion, a second-stage mature magical beast with an epic bloodline. Its attacks deal 5 times the damage. If the girl kills this bloodthirsty lion, the total number of her victims will be 51. Elder brother Murong was at a loss as to whether she would be the one to take first place in this test. But then he saw that someone had overtaken his sister, which caused him confusion. His sister was fighting a lion, and her beast fired a powerful beam towards the lion. Suddenly, she heard someone ordering Black Fang to attack. Black Fang suddenly jumped on the lion and cut off his head with the claws of hell. Xiao, riding on the Fang, thanked his younger sister Murong for distracting the beast. This made Murong's younger sister extremely angry, and she wanted to kill the impudent boy. With his cunning, he managed to steal the beast from Murong and thus top the table. But it's too early to relax, as a dangerous beast has appeared, namely the 3-eyed magic ant. The presenter said that he felt danger coming from the beast, and he did not know who would dare to challenge such a ferocious creature. The first to attack was Xiao with his Black Fang. He used the Bonds of Hell. The ant has a very strong shell, but the Hell Wolf's fire ignores armor and still deals damage to the monster. Xiao gave the order to Black Fang to finish off the monster with a hellish howl. Murong Xingxin also decided to enter the game and ordered the wyvern to use sound waves to prevent the Hell Wolf from finishing off its opponent. She pulled this trick to use necrotic flame and kill the 3-eyed ant herself. After the murder, she walked up to the stone, bent down and picked it up. Xiao was shocked by this. He didn't think that his classmate was so vindictive. The situation in the tournament was becoming increasingly heated. Xiao Xinyu and Murong Xinshin were tied and shared first place. There was less than an hour left until the end of the test. It was unclear who would ultimately win. Xiao noticed a magical beast on the road and told Black Fang to get ready. But Murong Xinshin kills the monster again and snatches the glasses right from under Xiao Xinyu's nose. It seems that wherever Xiao goes, his vengeful rival immediately appears nearby and takes away his prey. In the last half hour, Murong Xinshin has firmly secured her position in first place by killing monsters, the host reported. Xiao asked Xinshin if stealing one beast justified her behavior. She stood there with a dissatisfied face, and the audience wrote in a stream about why she looked so offended. She said that he would not serve her anymore, so she could prepare herself. The host couldn't believe that Xiao had been holding back the whole time. But no one believed that Xiao would be able to overtake Xinshin, since there was less than half an hour left until the end. Minutes passed, and the number of killed monsters had already broken all records. Xinshin believed that she had air superiority and Xiao would not be able to get past her. But Xiao, with a great leap, was able to jump up to the eagle that Xinshin was hunting and kill it. Xinshin was very angry and kept saying that Xiao was a scoundrel. Xiao turned to his dear classmate, reminding her that there was less than a minute left and she could no longer defeat him. Xinshin kept repeating that Xiao was a scoundrel again, and he asked if that was really the only word she knew. A magical beast, namely a lion, watches their squabble over the stone. The lion emerged from behind cover and went on the attack. The leader did not understand how a fully developed magical beast of the third form ended up there. Leo attacked Xiao. He was clearly not prepared for this. Xiao fell from the Black Fang and flew down into the abyss. Xinshin was afraid that something would happen to Xiao and began to worry a lot. She was very lucky because he managed to catch hold of a branch sticking out of the rock. Xinshin tried to pull Xiao out of the abyss while her wyvern fought with the lion. Xiao noticed Wang Yan sitting on a nearby tree and immediately realized that it was his doing. The branch began to crack and break. Xiao held on with all his might. The branch broke and Xiao fell down. Xinshin was scared and continued to call him. In the broadcast studio, Teacher Chen put forward his candidacy to search for his students. Su asked him not to worry so much. Teacher Chen decided to activate the emergency rescue program through the security service. The vice dean considered himself a genius because he pulled off a little trick, and Xiao went to the realm of the dead. At the foot of the mountain, Xiao woke up and couldn't believe he was still alive. Xiao scratched his head and remembered that this was all Wang Yan's doing. The guy got up from his beast and saw that it was lying unconscious. Xiao couldn't believe that Fang had offered his body to save him from falling so high. He took out a blue bottle and gave it to his dog to drink to make him feel better. The clouds thickened and it started to rain. Xiao was not very happy about this. Xiao hid his dog back in order to quickly find shelter from the rain. The boy found a cave and entered it, but he was still worried about how soon the rain would stop. Xiao thought that his sister was probably very worried, and besides, he was worried about Xinshin. Suddenly, a sound was heard in the cave, as if someone had stepped on a branch. This made Xiao wary. It turns out there is someone else in the cave. Suddenly, someone grabbed Xiao by the throat, and he couldn't even make a sound. The unidentified beast accused Xiao of seeing the Empress's face, and now he would have to kill him. Xiao was in fear, but then a system window opened in front of him with a description of the nine-tailed fox. He was surprised that it was a nine-tailed fox with a mythical bloodline and 3 attributes. The fox was puzzled as to why some person knew who she was. She was ready to strangle Xiao when he asked her to wait. He asked if the purebred dragon had injured her. If so, then she would die in literally half an hour. The fox was amazed that the man somehow knew about the injury from the purebred dragon. The nine-tailed fox asked how Xiao knew about her serious injury. She realized that this was his chance. He showed his hunter's sign and blinded her, thus freeing himself from her grip. He replied that since he understood who she was, how could such a detail have escaped him? Xiao thought about how he didn't understand where a purebred dragon, whose species had been extinct for over 300 years, came from. But he knew how to cure her and offered her his help. The fox doubted his abilities since he was only a 1-star level trapper. Her wounds were inflicted by a purebred dragon. Even the most outstanding doctors could not help. It wasn't a difficult task for Xiao because he knew how to cure her. She said that he didn't want her to kill him once she recovered, so the fox had to make a contract with him. This proposal angered the fox. How could she submit to him and become his beast? The fox grabbed Xiao by the throat again and began to strangle him. He said that she could easily kill him, but then she herself would not live long. The fox didn't like this very much. Would she really have to bow down before a man? Lisa felt worse. Xiao asked if the dragon's power had already entered her body. Wouldn't it be too late if she didn't sign the contract? She didn't want to sign a contract with him now, She still needed to complete her sister's task. After long and painful deliberation, the fox finally decided to sign a contract with Xiao. Xiao bit his finger until it bled and pressed it against the fox's forehead. After submitting, the fox asked for help so that he could finally heal her from the terrible wound. She said, of course, since they were now connected. He began to undress, which embarrassed the fox. The confused fox asked why he was undressing, to which he replied that it was in order to cure her. The fox ordered him to put his clothes back on, but Xiao didn't listen and cut himself in the chest area to make blood flow. The wounded Xiao told the fox to drink the blood from his chest. The confused fox retorted, "What are you saying? I will never do such a thing. I can't do such things." Xiao tried to convince the fox that his blood would protect her heart from the effects of the wound. The fox resigned herself and realized that there was no way back and began to lean towards Xiao's chest. She began to lick the blood from Xiao's chest, and her heart began to fill with some kind of power. She said that it would help her for a while, and she could now say her name. The fox introduced herself as Dailu. Dailu asked Xiao, since he became her master, how did he know that her wound was inflicted by a purebred dragon? Xiao wondered if Dailu was somehow connected to the missing dragons. Maybe she could understand what was happening to him. He then admitted that his eyes had changed after dragon blood entered them 2 months ago. Now when he concentrates, he sees a panel with information about the animals, as if it were a system. Dailu thought that his eyes were very similar to the legendary eyes of the demon god. Eyes can see all the information about any animal. An ordinary person should not have them. Dailu thought for too long, so Xiao asked her why she was silent. She said that most likely his eyes had changed under the influence of dragon blood and became the eyes of a demonic god. Xiao asked about the demonic eyes. Isn't that a system? Dailu chuckled and said that this was not a system. He did not live in a fantasy world. Xiao thought after Dailu said that it was just a visualization of the demon god's eyes abilities. But why did he hear someone's voice then? He remembered sitting with his dog in his arms in front of a red ruby, and a voice telling him to take this stone, which would allow his beast to be reborn. The voice first appeared after the shadow dragon's attack, pointing at the crystal. The voice told him to give the red crystal to his dog. In the end, Xiao still fed the crystal to the dog, despite his doubts. And the dog did indeed evolve into a hellish storm wolf. Xiao wondered if he would have another chance to hear that voice. At this time, an aggressively minded lion approached them from behind and began to growl at them. Daibu grabbed Xiao by the collar, as he stood there like a pillar and did not react to the enemy's attack. The guy told Daibu that it was because of this lava tiger that he fell off the cliff. Xiao never expected that this tiger would be able to find him here in the cave. The tiger attacked Xiao and Daibu with one powerful leap, but they managed to jump away in different directions. Xiao was watching the tiger and what move it would make next, when suddenly purple dents began to appear on it. It turned out to be Daibu's attack. Even though she was badly injured, she still wouldn't let some creature growl at her. Daibu and the tiger fought. He knocked her to the ground and hovered over her. She did not understand how the tiger decided to attack the empress. The fox was able to turn the pathetic tiger into stone with the help of her eyes. Xia Xinyu calmed down because he felt safe, but something was wrong with him. He began to lose consciousness and was unable to move or say anything. Xiu entered the consciousness, where he met a large dragon. The guy didn't understand who was talking to him, although he saw a huge dragon in front of him. The dragon asked if he had forgotten him and how he had helped the beast evolve. Xiu realized that the voice was the voice of the dragon that led him to the crystal, so he asked him who he was. The dragon said that the blood that got into his eyes awakened his abilities, but he himself does not know who he is. But he knows how to help Xiao achieve greatness. The guy found it funny how someone who doesn't know himself can help him. Xiao, looking at the system window, realized that all these windows were his doing. The trapper repeated his question about where they were and how he got there. The dragon answered him that it was his consciousness. While he was unconscious, the dragon decided to meet him, but now it was time for him to wake up. Xiao asked with hope in his voice when they could see each other again. But the dragon said that there was no need since he was always nearby. Xiao woke up in a hospital room. He wondered how he ended up there because he was in a cave. Teacher Chen and Su stood in front of Xiao's bed and waited for him to wake up. When he woke up, he said that the last thing he remembered was a cave near the cliff. Su explained that he was found by a rescue team next to the body of a lava tiger. She said that he was unconscious. How could he know what happened there? Su asked Xiao not to worry. The academy would conduct a thorough investigation and sort out this situation. Xiao thanked Su for her concern and said that he believed in her in this investigation. Teacher Chen said that in the Yunnan Mountain test, he and Murong Xinshin achieved S+ rank and set a new academy record. So he'd better focus on recovering and preparing for the rookie rankings this weekend. Then Xiao's hand lit up and a projection of a fox appeared, and he realized where it had disappeared to. The fox was surprised that he sacrificed his blood to save himself and then lost consciousness due to his wounds. Daibu said that the rescue team arrived in time so that they wouldn't see her. She hid. She asked Xiao if he told the teachers that falling off the cliff was an accident. Xiu knew that this was not an accident. He suspected who was behind all this. Wang Yan won't get off so easily this time. Wang Yan burst into the Wang family's office and told his father that something terrible had happened. But he sternly replied that the guy should pull himself together and tell everything in order. Wang Yan shouted that Xiao Xinyu had survived and showed him the article about his rescue on his phone. The guy was in a panic because Xiao would not leave him alone and would definitely take revenge on him with the help of the Heaven Guild. But father was calm because even if Xiao Xinyu suspected them, he had no evidence. Van asked his father what he should do now, and he replied that he didn't need to do anything. If they start doing something, they will kill him with the poison that he threw to his son. It was already dark, Zhao was lying on the bed, and someone called him on the phone. From the other end of the line, he heard the voice of his classmate, who admired his results. He said that the freshman tournament had been postponed, but that wouldn't stop Xiao from defeating everyone and taking first place. This news surprised Xiao, because it turned out that it was because of him that the tournament was postponed. A classmate said that Xiao's disappearance was the most discussed topic. The academy declared a state of emergency and organized a large-scale search. The freshman tournament is the main event of the Azure Dragon Academy, which is held every year. All participants are divided into groups, and the order of matches is determined randomly. And after the 8 finalists are determined, the fight for the 3 prize places will begin. A classmate asked Xiao not to be late, and he accepted his message and wished him good night. Xiu thought that a good result in the tournament would attract the attention of the academy and its financial support. The skills of beasts depend on the level of spiritual energy of their master. The stronger the beast, the more spiritual energy is needed. With the help of the academy's resources, Xiao would greatly accelerate his development, which would avoid the situation where Dailu's skills completely exhausted Xiao's spiritual energy, and Xiao will need her help to get rid of this Wang family. However, in order for Xiao to use Dailu's skills, he absolutely could not stand still. So the pressing question was, how could he increase his spiritual energy before the tournament began? Xiao fell asleep to ask the dragon this question. The dragon reproached Xiao for looking for the easy way. She replied that he had it, so why not take advantage of this opportunity? The dragon agreed that if Xiao could return his memories, he would do everything in his power to help him, to which Xiao agreed. Only deep meditation will allow you to penetrate into the space of consciousness and communicate with the dragon. The dragon upgraded the data panel based on the game systems from the human world. Now Xiao will be able to buy the necessary items through the store. But to prevent Xiao from relaxing and forgetting about the return of the dragon's memories, he will periodically issue tasks through the system, for the completion of which Xiao will receive points and other rewards. Xiao chose the dragon's spiritual pill, which instantly increases spiritual energy tenfold, but after 5 minutes it drains all strength and causes weakness. The dragon said that this was the thing he needed, but it had very strong side effects, so it should be used with caution. To activate the system, it is enough to mentally say, "Divine Panel, submit to my will." And now the dragon needs to recover and he asked not to disturb him. Xiao wished the dragon a good rest and said goodbye to him. She warned his sister that he had gone to class, but his sister asked him not to run like that because he had just recovered. The guy walked and thought that the freshman tournament was already today. I wonder if Shen missed it. Then a wanted notice fell into his hands and he began to study it carefully. On the piece of paper was a 9-tailed fox. 3 billion was offered for it, and it was accused of theft. Xiao accused Dao Li of deceiving him. The guy asked why she didn't tell him that the imperial family was looking for her. Xia was angry because she was wanted by the empress's personal order. Daibu should have said so herself. Daibu calmly answered him that then nothing would have changed. If he regretted the agreement with her, then he could hand her over and take the reward. Xiao was now her master, and he wanted her to trust him and not hide anything from him. Daibu agreed and showed the crystal that caused Shangguan Lan to set such a reward. Xiao didn't understand what it was, so he asked the fox directly about the crystal. The fox said that this is the highest treasure of dragons, the dragon's tear. Pureblood dragons have 3 great treasures: the scale sword, the dragon king's whiskers, and the dragon's tear. The dragon king's scale sword and whisker are artifacts with devastating attack power, and the dragon tear has no combat use, but is made up of the tears of 10,000 pure-blooded giant dragons. If you harness the full power of tears, you can turn back time and return to the past. Xiao had long wanted to ask, weren't dragons completely exterminated 300 years ago? The guy was interested in what was behind the war against the dragons that took place 300 years ago. Suddenly, someone on the street called out to Xiao Xinyu. It was Morongi, the elder brother said. What a coincidence that he is here too. The guy with white hair was surprised that he had gotten out of a real hell. Next time they might even kill him. The guy said that after Xiao fell off the cliff, his sister was very worried and couldn't eat because of it. After Xinxian saw on TV that Xiao was okay, she ate a couple of servings at once. Brother Xinxian tried to say something to make him think about the consequences, otherwise his sister would lose her appetite again. But Xinxian shut his mouth. Xiu confidently said that this would not happen again. He could not make such a girl worry. Then Xiu suggested going to the freshman tournament together. The guy told him that they were not close enough to him to go together. Besides, he stole Xinxian's points for killing a monster during the test. The elder brother took Xinxian's hand and said that they were leaving, and Xiao stood and watched them go. He still didn't understand why the Murong started talking to him if they hadn't forgiven him. The test host welcomed the teachers and students to the arena. Since the freshman tournament is about to begin, they are required to draw lots to determine the order of the fights. All the first-year students stood in line and drew lots from the box one by one. Wang Yan looked at Xiao Xinyu and couldn't help but believe that he had actually returned safe and sound. Now Wang Yan decided to use the death box to ensure that Xiao would never rise again. It was Wang Yan's turn to draw lots, and the people around him were not very happy about him. The freshman said that he was taking advantage of his father's status, but Xiao beat him up, causing Yan to lose all dignity, and now he is a disgrace to the academy. Wang Yan was ashamed by these cries, and he understood how much humiliation Xiao had brought upon him. But now he is ready to trample Xiao and bring him 100 times more humiliation. Since Wang Yan drew Xiao Xinyu in the draw, fate itself brought the sworn enemies together. Now Wang Yan could not let his father down, since he had helped him by attaching the lot to the wall of the box in advance. Yan told Xiao that he would personally destroy the pet in the arena, to which Xiao simply chuckled and said that he wasn't sure about that. In the arena stood two sworn enemies, Xiao Xinyu and Wang Yan, both ready to fight to the death. Brother Murong asked his sister why she kept looking at Xiao Xinyu. She explained to him that she felt that after falling from the cliff, Xiao Xinyu had become much stronger. Su thought about the horrors Xiao had to go through in these few days to become so strong. The host of the match announced the first round of the match between Xiao Xinyu and Wang Yan and gave the command to begin the battle. The opponents immediately summoned their magical beasts. Xiao summoned Black Fang and Yan summoned Ice Flame. Information about the animals obtained using a scanning device was displayed on an electronic board. Xinxian didn't like something about the aura. Although the board showed the aura of a first-stage Hellstorm Wolf, it was clearly higher. At that moment, she realized that Xiao Xinyu was deliberately suppressing the level of his beast in order to use the battle to break through. Ice Flame jumped to the side, opened his mouth wide and used Ice Ball. The ball rushed towards the Black Fang, but then managed to use its hunting in the dark skill. Fang dodged and the ball hit the stands, so it became very cold there. The spectators were shaking from the cold. Black Fang used Hell Howl and struck out from the darkness at the Ice Flame. The presenter was amazed by such an exciting battle. Sometimes freezing cold, sometimes unbearable heat. Xiao Xinyu decided to use his signature move, the Claw of Oblivion. The attack hit the Ice Flame straight. He couldn't dodge and froze in one place like last time. The host commented, "The six-fingered ice leopard fell under the Claw of Oblivion and cannot use its abilities. It had the same stupid expression on its face as its owner." But then Wang Yan declared that he was not so stupid as to fall for the same trick twice. Wang Yan threw a blue ball into the leopard's open mouth. The leopard swallowed it and began to rapidly increase in strength, and he developed an icy mane. While no one was expecting it, the leopard carried out one of his most powerful attacks. Xinxian didn't pay attention to this. She was still thinking about how Xiao Xinyu could become so strong in such a short time. Xiao noticed how the leopard's strength began to increase sharply and did not understand why this happened. He decided to check something, whether Wang Yan had used a forbidden potion that temporarily strengthened the beast. Xiao turned to Wang Yang. "Did you really force your beast to take a forbidden potion in order to win?" But he told Xiao Xinyu to mind his own business, and then continued to attack him with an icy barrage. Black Fang took the blow and was wounded, but still stood on his feet. Xiao supported his beast, shouting at it to hold on a little longer. Then came another powerful attack from Wang Yan. It was an ice hammer. The ice hammer froze the Black Fang, and he couldn't even move. The audience was shocked at how the six-fingered ice leopard suddenly became so strong, and they were worried that Xiao Xinyu was losing ground. Wang Yan proudly said that he had given in to Xiao Xinyu last time, but now he would see his true strength. Wang the Elder said to Su, "Is it true that my son's talent is no less than Xiao Xinyu's?"